Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Good morning.
All right, Brandy's hosting the show today. Will is out under the weather. I get it. It's pollen season, at least here in Alabama, but probably in Colorado too. So hope you feel better.
Yeah. It's always a bummer when the weather starts to change and then just like everybody starts to get sick. I am holding out. I flew back to Miami and then drove back to New Orleans on Saturday, and the weather is like all over the place and all these changes. I'm like, please let me just get through this without getting sick. How was your weekend?
You've never witnessed southern spring storms. You've always lived in the Northeast or in South Florida, so
Yes.
buckle up.
It is super gloomy right now in New Orleans, like big thunderstorms. So if you might even hear some in the background. And if you hear any barking, that is just apologies in advance. There's 3 dogs in the home with us right now. So
Randy has made the trip to New Orleans for what, a month?
Yes, a month.
Beautiful. Yeah, my weekend was great. Auburn is in the Final Four. So what more can you ask for?
Very exciting. Do you have a bracket going?
I do. There's only ever in history been one other time that all the number 1 seeds make it to the Final Four. So nobody had that predicted, or very few. But here we are, and quite frankly, it's the 4 best teams that have been around all year from top to bottom. So it should be an interesting last weekend in San Antonio. So Jamie, I'm curious if the national championship has anything to do with San Antonio short-term rentals. We'll get some stats, put them together next week, but excited to dive into the data.
Yeah, it's really this kind of like eventized travel is really kind of the hot topic now. So I bet we will
see smaller cities, right? In a big city, kind of like we covered with the Super Bowl, Scottsdale has 1 billion vacation rentals, so the needle didn't move a ton. But in a small city like San Antonio, having a major event like that probably does.
Yeah, exactly. So good luck to any property managers there. Hopefully the college crowd will behave themselves. And I have to give a shout out to you guys and Jonathan Wicks, because I finally got my Well and Good Morning coffee delivered to me in New Orleans, and it's great. It was pretty necessary this morning. I've been on my like no coffee kick, but the weather and just like the chaos of the weekend, I was like, I think I need coffee this morning.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the club. And for anyone else that wants to join the Good Morning Coffee Club, the Well and Good Morning Coffee Club, it is available for purchase. So link in our show notes. Note to Will, let's make a link in the show notes.
Yeah, note to Will. Yes,
So rolling into the topics today, Airbnb, loyalty. We've talked on the show a lot. We don't think Airbnb is going to get in the loyalty game. I wouldn't call this move a loyalty play, but Airbnb has launched a perk with Hotel Tonight. And they're offering anybody that stays or uses Hotel Tonight will get 10% off of their next Airbnb stay. Brandy?
Yeah. So, I mean, on one hand, we're finally seeing some sort of cross-pollination between the two. Airbnb bought Hotel Tonight, and at least on like the operator side, there was some interest at that time. We tried to push properties to Hotel Tonight because, multifamily, but you have to really be set up like a hotel. Like you have to have 24/7 front desk, because you can't give anyone check-in instructions or things like that. It's very, very basic. And then I feel like that kind of died down. And as much of like a marketing machine as Airbnb is, they haven't done a lot to kind of promote or capitalize on the fact that they have both of these brands.
Yeah.
So, and we've talked about how there isn't any sort of loyalty program that's very small. Although this isn't really a loyalty program necessarily, but it is the first step in maybe that direction. But yeah, so you book a hotel tonight and then you get 10% off your next stay on an Airbnb. And so, Michael, if you were a hotel operator, how are you feeling about this?
I would say this is the opposite of loyalty. This is a disloyalty campaign. If I'm on Hotel Tonight and I don't have exposure into Airbnb's short-term rental, there's people like you that can list on both. Great, no problem. In fact, probably even better for you. But if I have a property on Hotel Tonight, say Marriott, a Hilton, there's zero chance I'm going to keep it on Hotel Tonight if they're just going to drive my guests from my hotel and then encourage them on their next stay to go stay in a short-term rental. Home run for the short-term rental industry, for the category. I think the biggest hurdle that the industry has is people trying it for the first time. And
Yep.
once they try it for the first time, they tend to then be a repeat guest. So Airbnb is solving for that. I think we've watched Airbnb over the past 2 years focus on supply. And now they're sitting around like, okay, we have all this supply, but our average occupancy levels have dipped a little bit because supply has outpaced demand too much. How do we grow demand? Well, let's just steal it from hotels. Well,
From our own hotel partners.
who else can they steal it from though? Right. I mean, I love the Hotel Tonight flag, like the brand, what it stands for. I'm a huge fan of. It's one of my favorite OTAs. But this move, if I'm listed on their platform, I'm raising hell. Like it doesn't. There is zero benefit for anybody that currently lists on Hotel Tonight for this to go through. Like I understand why Airbnb would do it because they're big brands, their money maker, their revenue driver is the short-term rental Airbnb site. But man, you are going to absolutely kill Hotel Tonight. And maybe that's the plan. Maybe they want to shut this down and not focus on hotels anymore. They haven't focused on this in years since the acquisition, really, since COVID happened. Is kind of when Hotel Tonight got rolled in and pieces dismantled, teams melded. The Hotel Tonight supply team became the Airbnb supply team. So maybe this is one of the steps they're taking before they shutter Hotel Tonight, which would be a mind-blowing decision, but who am I to judge? I don't see the numbers.
Yeah. See, I was thinking that for me, a logical next step would be combining like where you could manage your Hotel Tonight trips and your Airbnb trips within the same app, and ideally bringing Hotel Tonight into the Airbnb interface because it's just so nice. And because that I could see that would be really bringing in hotels. So I from the beginning kind of thought they were just gonna like all of a sudden there was gonna be like another box to check at the top of the search bar for like hotels, and that's how they were going to incorporate them. But yeah, I mean, if it's a way to shutter the program, I feel like that's like a very slow way to do it, but it could be like death by a thousand cuts if people start pulling it. Or, I mean, Airbnb also has to have, they do like to make unilateral decisions, but they have to have thought that there was going to be some blowback. So maybe there is like another phase to this that will come out that is a bit more friendly towards the hotels. Because I feel like the type of guest who's booking Hotel Tonight, right, that's last minute, it's like a little bit unknown, right? I don't know if I don't know if those are the same clientele.
Well, I've used Hotel Tonight as a business traveler. I'm terrible at booking. If I'm staying in a hotel, I'm terrible at booking out in advance. You typically if you're not going to book well in advance, you're going to get the cheapest price, typically the night before. So Hotel Tonight's great. And I misspoke. They're not giving 10% off of the Airbnb stay. They're giving you 10% of the booking value that you booked on Hotel Tonight as credit
Towards
in Airbnb. So different in how it actually works. And you can actually stack that credit over time. So if you stay in 3 hotel tonights, you get $20 in each stay. Then you can move that $60 into your next Airbnb stay. So it, in terms of transparency on what value you're getting, I like it. It's not just points and credit, it's actual dollar amounts that you can apply. But still, I don't understand why any hotel, I can't imagine Hotel Tonight is any large amount of a hotel's booking stack. It's probably less than 5% for pretty much every hotel. And so they could shut this channel off in spite and really just kill the entire platform of Hotel Tonight because of this move. So it's a big risk by Airbnb. I, again, don't want Hotel Tonight to go away, but I can't really make sense of this one.
Yeah, but I think that that's kind of an interesting point though, because so you stack all these credits basically, and this is where I think kind of the combined guest portal makes a lot of sense, because then you can see there's kind of that gamification, like they could have put some barriers to it, like you have to complete, once you complete 3 stays on Hotel Tonight, you can use those 10% credits towards your Airbnb stay or something like that. That encourages more people to book their Hotel Tonight stays to get that Airbnb stay. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I wonder if our hotel crew on Wednesday has any opinions on this. But it definitely feeds into the kind of like the rivalry, the us versus them nature that we have between hotels and STR. When again, like if you're booking a 7-bedroom home for your family vacation, that is not the thing you're going to Hotel Tonight for. You're not like last minute booking that accommodation. So I think again, there's room for everyone to play.
Yeah, and the release also states further that to claim the credits, you have to sync your Hotel Tonight account with your Airbnb account. So it probably is the first step
combining.
to either shutting down Hotel Tonight or somehow blending it, like Booking blends their inventory. It doesn't matter if it's a short-term rental or a hotel, they'll show you all the options in your parameters. So we'll see. I mean, again, great for short-term rental industry. I don't know if I would continue to list with Hotel Tonight if I was on it and not on Airbnb. So
yeah,
interesting.
Well, yeah, interesting move. We'll have to, again, I love coming back to these kind of predictions. Maybe that's a mid 2025 prediction. Airbnb shutters Hotel Tonight. We'll have to see. But moving on to some STR research that Phocuswright has done. But before we get to them, we want to give our partners at Fido a shout out. They are your on the ground operations teams. If you need any help with bringing the bin to the curb, which back when we were only single family homes, that was easily one of the most annoying things, and still very annoying when you have that one home you forget about. So go to the link in our show notes, get with Fido to make your on the ground operations easier. So with Phocuswright, we have another big report from them about the state of the U.S. short-term rental industry and kind of like on the technology landscape. So, Michael, what's kind of your overall takeaway from this research?
Yeah. So the link will be in the show notes. Thank you, Will. But the U.S. short-term rentals, B2B technology and distribution landscape. The biggest takeaway for me was still how unprofessional the average short-term rental host is. And that leads to a number of things. There are no standards. One of the most interesting stats in this for me was that, let's see, pulling up the exact number so I don't misquote. The number of professional cleaning services used, currently in use, 54%. So of all of the hosts and management companies that Phocuswright interviewed for this or surveyed, only 54% are using a professional cleaning service. And you want to understand why there is this discrepancy of hotels and Airbnbs, hotels and short-term rentals. Short-term rentals can provide excellent experiences, but only 54% are using professional cleaners. So
I
it's a
find that
crapshoot.
I find that just so hard to believe. Like I'm having a hard time believing that and accepting that, because I mean, that is such a huge number of hosts. And for context, there are 483 hosts that were interviewed or sampled in this research. So, everybody, and I think one thing that's also very particular to short-term rentals is like everybody does their version of this a little bit differently. And so that kind of speaks to your lack of professionalization, that we still don't have agreed upon cleaning standards. And that makes sense. If you're listing a couple times a year your home while you're on vacation and you're a good cleaner, you're like, okay, I'll just do that myself and pocket the cleaning fee. I personally would never do that. I mean, even if it
I
was
did
my
it.
own home,
I
I
did
I
it.
mean, I know in the early days, I was helping clean the houses, and actually, as a mini tangent, last weekend in New Orleans, we had like a little bit of a fire happening at 3 p.m. before 4 p.m. checkouts. There was 4 large units still left to be cleaned. It was someone didn't show up, and I was in the units cleaning, and it just solidified that I that cleaning was not my strong suit at like a hotel standard. And so yeah, to your point, like when people check in and you hear all these like anecdotal viral Airbnb horror stories, it's like, yeah, because some people are just doing this like haphazardly on occasion to make some extra money. And like, why would they think through how a professional would do this when it's not like, it's just kind of like an afterthought, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, there really needs to be some sort of understanding of who is working to professional hotel standards and pegging to that, because the vast majority of short-term rentals out there, particularly Airbnbs, are people that own and operate one or two,
Yeah.
and they're probably cleaning it themselves because they can save money, they can charge a cleaning fee, pocket all that money themselves, and it doesn't mean they're not doing a great job at it. It just means they don't really understand, everything else that goes into it. You know, in many cases, they do have the best ratings because they can get involved one-to-one with every guest. They can involve,
Yeah.
They can pocket that cleaning money, take 10% of it and put it towards a welcome gift, put fresh flowers everywhere, put out a bottle of wine. I think those delight in all moments can exist better. But then the flip side, that's your top 10%. The rest of them have, they're not cleaning the toilets. They're not doing what a hotel would have to do to keep their flag or their brand, or to even get guests to keep coming back. So they're not that professional hosts are always the answer, because there are, again, great individual hosts. There just needs to be some sort of understanding of who the professionals are that are doing things by a certain set of standards versus who the not professionals are. And that goes for management companies and individuals as well.
Yeah, and it's kind of like on that same train of thought, with the difference between someone who's like really in the industry and knows what's going on. There was this statistic about the percentage of people that use a book direct site, and only 36% of the hosts surveyed use a book direct site. And then this makes sense to me if you're a small host that's like only on Airbnb, or maybe you do the calendar share to Verbo. But this is the part where I think that even small hosts are starting to catch on that there is a way to kind of remove the OTAs or to gain some more control. If you're on any sort of smaller PMS that like is specifically for the smaller hosts, almost everyone has some sort of plug and play website. And the more and more that people, I think a book direct site is probably lower on the list. We need to get people distributing to like more than one channel. But I do but I do see that once people, I think the leap from going from someone who just does Airbnb to someone who does the calendar swap between Airbnb and Vrbo, I think once they make that like mental shift, then being like, oh, well, booking.com in my area is also really great. I should get a channel manager or PMS. And then, oh, I can just like spin up this site. And then I can have, even if you get 2 direct bookings, that's 2 bookings that you didn't pay a commission on.
Yeah, I think that switch is first. Like, can I
Mhm.
get bookings on another platform? But the book direct piece almost comes when a guest says, how do I book your place again?
Yep.
And you realize I don't want to give 15% to one of the OTAs. Like they had a great stay with me. I want them to book with me next time, and then trying to figure out how to do that. So, I mean, the numbers are still astounding from the Phocuswright survey. Only 41% of professionally managed inventory is using a channel manager. The Phocuswright calls professional management 3 units or more. So there's a big gap between 3 and 10, 10 and 25, and 25 plus. I'd venture guess everyone that's 25 plus, 90% are using a channel manager. If they're not, how on earth are they getting homeowners to sign up with them?
Yeah, exactly. And so that also is like taking this information all with a grain of salt, because you can see really drastic discrepancies between like a host and a professional if a professional is 3,
Mhm.
and yeah, so I really think that as we talk about professionalization and how more people can up their standards or just kind of join the rest of us professional managers, it's really, I think, buying one piece of technology. Like a PMS kind of solves for a lot of the issues that they have. Like that includes most of the times now a channel manager, that's your calendar manager, that's your rate manager. You can kind of instantly professionalize, and on even like a smaller scale. And I think we'll start to see people, as maybe revenue gets a bit tighter when they're, super reliant on one OTA, people are either going to get frustrated with that experience and maybe fall off, and maybe they won't list as much, maybe they long-term their property, or they're going to realize that they have to level up in order to kind of gain the critical mass that you need to sustain this kind of business.
Or they're one Airbnb decision away, because we saw that
Yeah.
happen during COVID. One unilateral Airbnb decision can wreak havoc on the industry.
Mhm.
And so hopefully those things never pop up again. Hopefully it's a once in a lifetime or generational event, but because they control so much, they can make unilateral decisions like what we saw with Hotel Tonight. They're
Yeah.
sending Hotel Tonight users to Airbnb and not trying to keep them in the hotels. So, yeah, a number of interesting decisions. I think one other thing that jumped out in the survey to me, we talk about how unprofessional the industry still is. I don't know if we're ever going to stop talking about that. I hope we do, but it's been a theme for 10, 15 years. The biggest knock on Airbnb in particular, I think Vrbo's kind of distanced themselves a little bit on the standards side. But Airbnb's biggest challenge mentally with travelers is, I don't know what I'm going to get. Is it going to be a home run, 10 out of 10, most Instagrammable experience like they brand? And oftentimes it is, right? 8, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a great experience. But you have that one bad experience, and then you start to question the entire platform. So I'm calling for a set of standards to come through. I think over time that will be what differentiates. We've seen both Vrbo and Airbnb use badges to help rise the cream to the top. But I think that certainly helps. And Jamie, more data that we can pull. What's the booking conversion rates for those with badges versus not? That'd be an interesting stat to see. But the other piece that jumped out to me we can't get off of a call talking about trends without talking about AI.
Yeah,
And
of
the,
course.
the
You said the
survey
magic words.
the survey that Phocuswright gave AI usage in the past 12 months for short-term rental hosts, pretty much all of the answers were circa 30%. So almost a third of all hosts are using AI in some regard, drafting property listings, developing guidebooks, drafting marketing content, guest communications, etc. That number is wild to me. Like the fact that
I know.
adoption to AI is already 30% in the industry. I wonder how much of that has to do with what Airbnb is calling their AI and building their own listings. If that's the case, then great. But if it's more than that, then man, this is probably a bigger story than I would have thought.
Well, I think that this also, I mean, we might have an image in your head of someone who does, STR occasionally on the side as not being, traditionally they haven't been as on trend with what technology the rest of the industry, the professionals are using, all of that. But what these individual hosts need is more time and like more help getting their guidebooks done or answering messages. So they might be more inclined to, look at this new technology because it's going to enable them to keep doing what they're doing at the scale that they're currently at, rather than adding someone to help answer messages or, or something like that. And so maybe that's why, because this one kind of piece of technology that's in the cultural zeitgeist in general can really help them stay the size they are, maybe personnel wise, cost wise, before they have to make the next jump.
Yeah, look, Airbnb is ahead of us. They spent $200 million a year ago on AI, an AI company. So they see it. They know where their hosts' pain points are, and it's in communications, it's in building listings, it's in marketing materials, so guidebooks. So I think it makes sense. What's going to be more interesting is for those professional companies how those conversations flow through the systems, create automated work orders. Whether a guest complains about this, instead of a human going in and creating a task, it just flows through automatically. A note goes to a maintenance person and item taken care of without anybody in corporate or in the home office having to get involved. So those things are going to be coming. I mean, AI is definitely getting invested in the industry. So we'll see. I don't think it'll take more than a year or two for us to really have some major strides there. But of all of the professionalism taking root, I'm shocked at how well adopted AI is and how poorly adopted professional cleaners are.
Yeah, I mean, and that to me, and maybe that just speaks to my aversion to cleaning, but it's it's really shocking. And I guess if you were to take a step back though, the cleaning is like, that's another labor management item. Like you have to find the cleaners that you really like. Are they reliable? You have to negotiate the costs. Like there's all these layers to maybe finding the right vendor that you can depend on for the long haul. Whereas AI, you just like, hey, ChatGPT, can you rewrite this listing for me? And like, there you go. That takes 10 seconds.
Yeah. And I mean, I said I managed, or I cleaned my own house when I rented my house out for game days during football season. I did it because I used a professional cleaner the first time, and it wasn't, they did surface level cleaning, but it wasn't to hospitality level clean. And so I had to go back through and redo a good bit of it myself. So I just figured I'll do it myself the next time and keep the cleaning costs. So I wouldn't be surprised if that lion's share, or the delta between professional cleaners and not, is 90% individual hosts cleaning their own house, or their one or two properties that they list. But if it's professionals and I'm you, Brandy, and you're in there scrubbing toilets,
It is
it's
only out of necessity.
You have to do it sometimes, but at scale, I mean, come on, you have to have
No,
professionals. use. So
No. And it's funny, those they say if you don't use it, you lose it. Like when I was back cleaning, like back in 2016, having to like quickly clean a 3-bedroom apartment that has things, they use the kitchen and everything. I think it's good for any manager or higher level executive at a company to spend time in the trenches in like an emergency situation. It gives you a lot of empathy and helps you kind of see some of the other problems, but it takes a real professional to clean these properties well and quickly. So
well and good. So if
well
you
and
aren't
good.
using well and good, use a professional cleaning service. Shout out Wix. Get now it does. Maybe I'm second guessing myself on this data and people got confused on how the question was worded. Maybe they're thinking professional cleaning services third party. I mean, some might employ them full time. I'm hoping some people might have gotten confused because, again, I can't fathom the fact that only 54% of people in short-term rental industry use a professional cleaning service. So.
Yeah, I really still having a hard time accepting that.
Well, on that note, let's create some standards for the industry. Let's get rid of the bugaboo that the short-term industry is still very much mom and pop. It is, but there's got to be ways that we can differentiate ourselves.
Yeah, agreed. Well, do you have anything exciting on the agenda for this week, or same old, same old?
Development is a twist and turn at every corner. So we're dealing with some challenges right now that were unforeseen and popped up on Friday at 4 p.m.
Oh,
but,
nice.
Yeah, so we'll see how those land. I think it'll be all right, but just some confusion with the Department of the Interior. So yeah, we'll see if we can fight some fights and win some battles. But never a dull moment in property development. Shout out to all those who've done it. It is it's not easy.
No. Awesome. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. We hope you have a great rest of your week, an easy week, hopefully, no fires, and we'll see you all next Monday.